Hey there, welcome to Hermit Haven. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jacqui. We're so excited to invite you into our safe space. Hermit Haven is like a cozy little hideout where we celebrate being confident in ourselves as we find happiness in quiet moments.
So grab your favorite blanket and your favorite drink, and let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome back to our next episode of Hermit Haven, our second episode. We're so excited. We're still at Disney, still having a great time here.
I'm Ashley, and we're excited to have you. And this week, we are going to chit-chat about ourselves. We are going to open up, tell you all about ourselves, and not just like the boring stuff like I keep peanut butter in my refrigerator, but the more exciting...
You?
Yeah, you don't? But the more exciting stuff. But I guess that's exciting news too.
I didn't know that was really a thing. I'm being for real.
Yeah. I grew up in a household that always had ants, so everything was kept in the refrigerator.
We're both from South Florida, so ants. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. But still,
peanut butter, cereal, bread, everything goes in the fridge.
Okay, yeah. My mom has bread in her fridge.
Everything goes in the fridge.
Not cereal, though.
But, okay, tell me how good
You must have a really big fridge, though.
No. But literally my favorite thing is a cold scoop of peanut butter.
No, I love peanut butter. Love peanut butter. I could just eat peanut butter, but I just have never thought to put it in the fridge.
I get the honey roasted one and put that in the fridge, and I'd just be eating scoops of peanut butter throughout the day. The
Fresh Market, we have a grocery store called the Fresh Market here, and they make fresh ground honey roasted peanut butter, and it's I can't buy it anymore because I'll just eat it. But
it's superior.
Okay, so since we're at Disney, let's talk about if we were stuck on a Disney ride, what would we want to be stuck on?
This is a hard one because you have to think about it too. You don't want to be stuck with that music, even though sometimes they do show off the music. But let's be honest, I don't think I can handle It's a Small World and all those dolls. No. Fun fact, by the way, do you know they give those dolls haircuts? Real fun fact.
But why?
The yarn will stretch and grows. Oh. Also, they never show off the animatronics, so imagine being the person cutting those hair in the middle of the night.
That's creepy too.
Well, they do, but they're still they still will go off in the middle of the night. Yeah, it's creepy.
Okay, well, I've thought about this long and hard. Actually, it's a really easy answer because we're in Florida, so it's hot almost all year round. There's 2 months where it's not. So it has to be an inside ride for me. Wait, did you answer?
No.
You didn't even answer.
It's okay. You go first. You got this.
Okay, I already know my answer. So has to be an inside ride for me. And you're right about the music. So I would want to be stuck on Haunted Mansion because I love Haunted Mansion. But most specifically, because I was stuck on Haunted Mansion a few weeks ago with my sister-in-law, which is fine. But the part where you're up above and then you can look down and they're having the whole table and the ghosts are dancing, that part, I could be stuck there forever. There's so many detail, and it's just so fun watching all the little ghosts move around. I mean, they did such a good job on that ride.
Fun fact too, if they did turn on the lights, you would see that there's a cat portrait, and you actually would realize if they turn on the lights that there's cat portraits filled out the whole Haunted Mansion.
Really?
Oh. If you can tell, I'm a big Disney person.
I love Haunted Mansion.
I thought about this for a split second. I would honestly want to be stuck on Rise of the Resistance, and not just because I want to get stuck on it. I want to be evacuated from it, which I have been evacuated from it, but I didn't get evacuated from the spot I want to be evacuated from it. I want to be evacuated from it in the middle of the ride. Just imagine the in-show exit. You're walking through and you see all the cool animatronics. Yes.
I've never been on that ride.
What are you doing? We gotta get you on that ride.
I know, I'm wearing...
We gotta get you on that ride.
Okay, so I'm a recent Disney Pass holder, and I hadn't even been to Star Wars Land, or whatever they call it, up until a couple months ago. But I do love Star Wars, so I'll be on it, and I'll know what she means.
Is she truly a Disney fan?
I just haven't been there.
That too?
I just physically... that little walkway where they have, all the shops. Mm-hmm. I wish that there was so much more of that, where you feel you're literally walking through their village and stuff. I wish that there was so much more of that. I feel they failed in that area.
I feel they failed. We talked about this morning, and this is when my boyfriend got stuck in my head, but I think they failed when they decided to copy and paste this land in all the parks. I want an experience where I go visit Batu, and then Batu makes me go all the way to Disneyland because there's something new there. Like,
She just went to Disneyland, and it was apparently the exact same at Disney World and Disneyland, and it was disappointing.
It was very disappointing. Even though, like, we had an opportunity to ride Rise. By the way, Rise breaks down there, too, so it's not just Florida where Rise breaks down, like, every minute. But, yeah, I love Star Wars, and I agree. I think the land should be... I think when I first walked into the land, I loved the immersiveness, but this was when it first opened, and it was more characters, there was more stuff happening, where I feel like now it's just a walkthrough.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Okay, so maybe not moving away from Disney, but just give like a few facts about ourselves, and then we kind of want to go back. I know last episode we hinted at just some stuff has happened over the last year, and we really want to go back and explain what's been going on individually, and it's a literal wild ride. And so we'll do that in a little bit, but let's like start with some happiness before we get into all of that drama.
Sunshine before the storm.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll go first.
Go for it.
Random. I'll try to be random. I don't know how random they are. So last year, the beginning of last year, I don't know why, but I decided I wanted to make sourdough. And I went on TikTok and started looking up sourdough and how you do it, and made a sourdough starter, which is like the yeast that you use to make sourdough, and like figured it out. And so I'm like pretty decent at making some sourdough, and it's delicious, and I do love baking and cooking.
She's a really fun mom. She does gardening too, and she does like all these cozy things with her kids, and she does arts and crafts, and she's like the best mom with her boys.
Arts and crafts are something I used to do. We were talking about this yesterday or last night or whatever.
We're always talking.
we were talking about how more people should go back and do hobbies that they used to do, because like whatever you did as a child is probably what you love to do. And as we grow up, we stop doing all those things. And I just completely forgot how much art and music like I used to do when I was little, because I became a mom and I've been immersed in life, and not even just being a mom, but you grow up and life happens. And so I've been trying to really like make time for art recently, and I feel like that's really what's brought me out of the storm of last year, and like help me to like heal and refine myself, I guess. So yeah,
it's your calm time.
All right, so that's about me. Ashley, tell us some stuff that you like to do, hobbies, things that you love. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
I don't really know.
That's a fair answer though. So many people don't know.
This is a really sore topic for me. I've always felt like I don't have a hobby, or I don't have like a passion. And I don't fully blame my parents, but I also know that my parents gave me the best experiences they could with what they had. And I do wish I got more experiences. And so I think the last like my entire, adulthood has been just taking risk and adventures and going out there and exploring new things. Like, I've literally moved to Orlando 5 years ago with $500 in my bank account, 2 job interviews, and here we are 5 years later, and I'm about to move to Colorado with my boyfriend, and we have less than 30 days to do that, and here we are recording an episode. Literally, I move on Sunday. My house is still not packed.
She's way more risky than me.
I have this like I was telling someone the other day, I was telling the Uber driver this, let's be honest, but I was telling the Uber driver that I feel like I'm like a gypsy. Like, I just have this free spirit. I can go anywhere. I can be anywhere. I can live anywhere. I can find a way to adapt. And
she's lived in Israel too, by the way.
Yes, I did 2 internships in Israel. That's my fun fact. If you ask me what my fun fact about me is, I will probably tell you that I lived in Israel for 10 months, did 2 internships, and loved every moment of it. And people ask me, would I go back? 100% I would go back to Israel. Absolutely love it. People will ask me, why did I go to Israel? And they're like, oh, is it because you're Jewish? Well, it's not just because I'm Jewish. That is a land that was spoken to me my whole life. I went to Jewish day school. We sung the national anthem every morning, so
yeah, it was a big part of your life.
Yeah, it's my homeland.
That's cool.
Grew up as a Jewish girl in South Florida.
Yeah.
Keep kosher style, which, let me tell you, it's a lot harder than you think. I think people don't.
What's kosher style?
For me, I think everyone has their own version, but I grew up in a strictly kosher house. So we had meat and dairy sinks, we had meat and dairy ovens.
So meat and dairy have to be separated.
Yeah, so my whole life, meat and dairy should be separated. I don't eat pig. I don't eat shellfish. I've never had pepperoni pizza. I've never had a cheeseburger, which takes a lot of willpower, which is so interesting I say that because I have the willpower to keep kosher style, but something that I struggle with and I've been working on is consistency, dedication to the good habits, and like building a future with those good habits.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're all like constantly working on. And I think as life changes, like all that changes too. So you just like keep changing everything. It's like the only constant is change.
It's crazy though, because like as much as life changes, like sometimes we get so like stuck in those like modes, and like I feel like that has been literally us in a nutshell the last few years is like just being stuck in this like, well, life happened. What do we do now?
Yeah. I also grew up Jewish. We grew up not too far from each other, but we didn't know each other when we were younger.
Maybe we
but
did.
I do not keep kosher. I just grew up, celebrating the traditions and all the fun things. My mom actually converted. She grew up Catholic, and she wanted to convert from my dad because my ancestors, my great grandparents, were in World War II in France, and so my grandma was over there, my grandpa was over there. So anyway, she wanted to convert so that we all had the same religion because religion's really important to her. And so, yeah, that was a fun fact about her. As an adult, she had her bat mitzvah.
I love that about your mom. She made that sacrifice.
She's amazing.
It's crazy to think too, like how your ancestors were in the Holocaust, and then like I just think timelines are so interesting. Maybe that's just how my brain works. But like, your ancestors were in the Holocaust. My ancestors escaped during Kristallnacht, and my grandfather actually fought in World War II for the Americans.
Mine did too. Well, for Belgium, in Belgium.
Which is interesting. Like, even I think we're a couple years apart. Maybe like what, 5 years?
You're turning
32.
I just turned 37.
Yeah, so we're like 5 years apart. So yeah, we're coming from different generations, but still, like,
yeah.
It's interesting how, these little invisible things build who we are.
Well, now everyone knows how old I am.
We can edit this down.
No, it's fine. I'm good with it because different people are going to be watching, and I think it's good to know.
Jacqui, what's some things you would like to bring to this podcast, like that's unique to you?
Yeah, so when you were originally talking about the podcast, first of all, I would have never done this without her. I think I said it in the last one, but it's just, this is not like my forte. I love writing. I feel like you're better at speaking. I don't know. Anyway, but I was obviously want to grow in that, like be better at speaking, but specifically, like I feel like a lot of things that I have learned about myself over the last 10 years is not to be more confident in my own decision making about everything, about parenting, about what I like, how I want to dress, like what I want to do. I feel like we're so swayed by everyone around us to like be questioning ourselves if we're doing the right thing. And no matter what you want to do, like in your heart, that's going to be the right thing. And I've been really trying to lean into that recently, and like, wear my hair curly again. Like I never wore my hair like natural. Like I always straightened it, just like leaning into who I am. And I just want like to be able to share that, I think, with other women, to just like embrace who you are. It's great that you might be different than everyone else because everyone's different from everyone. That's why we're here. And I also really feel strongly that like, obviously when we were a baby, we learned to walk. You're just meant to grow. You're put on the earth to grow. And most people just kind of stay stagnant because they maybe don't know how to, or they've never known anyone that has grown. Maybe they're, friends and family, that's not what they do. And so I just want to like show my growth and show people that they can grow as a person and to their better self, best self.
I love that. And I think too, like you're talking about growth, something like I always believed is everyone in this earth has a mission. Everyone has like a reason you're in this earth. And if you continue to stay in the same place and you continue to just be the same person you're going to be, you'll never reach your mission. You have to do the things. And it's little things too. It's not just about you. It's if you see a mom struggling to open the door of her stroller, instead of watching, just help her with the door, It's sending a smile to the employee that looks like they're having the worst day ever. You're not here for yourself sometimes too. And I think that's so important. Like as much as we want to grow, it's about us filling our cups so we can grow as a person. And, one of the reasons I asked Jacqui to be my co-host in this podcast, because even know, like, I probably could have did this podcast by myself as much as I love talking. If you followed me for a while, you know I do lives and I can talk for 30, 40 minutes just rambling about whatever. But the reason I asked Jacqui to be my co host is because I truly believe the conversations that we have are so in depth and so deep that they should be shared with everyone, because everyone should hear how inspiring, like, we literally can inspire each other. Like, when we talk, it feels like we're moving mountains sometimes. Like, I can be having the worst day, or I can be feeling like I'm struggling on one task, and Jacqui's there to like pump me up, you know, make me feel better about whatever it is. Or like, I may have an opinion about something and Jacqui's like, well, what did you think about like this? And I love that me and Jacqui are two different people. Like Jacqui was saying, like, she's more of this like person that wants to write these like cute journals and make these artsy things, and I'm this girl that just wants to be like, let's go play games and let's go like go on an adventure. And like, I don't know, I just love that we're able to bring these different personalities to you and bring these different like who we are and how our drive is to you. And I think that's my favorite part about us being host of these podcasts is just the energy level. It's just, even though we're two different people, our vibe matches.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely are the happy vibes like spread. I mean, we both are, but I'm just kind of more like happy vibes, and you're like, yeah.
But honestly, I would not be able to do, like, as much as I know I like could do a podcast by myself, something I struggle with, and this is why I feel that I am not as
Something you just need to grow with.
struggle with, but still working on, because it's always been a struggle. It's something that I was born with. I have a learning disability called dysgraphia, and my whole life I've been made fun of, I've been picked on, I've been told by teachers I would never graduate school because of my learning disability. And so having someone that can help me bring out the best of me, even with my learning disability, is something that I absolutely love. Is that this is literally a partner. Like, I can bring my terrible spelling, my terrible writing, my terrible grammar to the table and still be heard. And
Yeah.
I think so many of us are not heard because we said something wrong, because we thought something different. And I think that's the beauty of this. There is no, you said it wrong. There is no, you did this wrong. There is no, well, that's not what you should think. This is, it's okay that you thought that. It's okay that you're feeling that. Your feelings are valid. And I think that's something we're going to really show in the podcast is we've already scripted out and started making episodes, and these episodes are really like what we see as like, you know, there's different topics. Like we have one, like what we would tell our younger self. And like, we have one that says, you know, what do we see as a rich life and gratitude, you know? And I think all these episodes are unique and special, and they're things that maybe are not spoken about enough.
Yeah. I think we're just like nervous, like as humans, we're nervous to say something, especially with social media. Like you say something and then you're just like someone twists it, takes it the wrong way. And I think that's why we're so scared to be vulnerable with other people, like other humans.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a lot of why we created this community, to be able to have a place where we're not going to judge you. Like you need to do you because that's what you want to do. And it doesn't have to be the same as us. And that's okay. Like we're all just going to like be here together and support each other, even if it's different. So I just think that's like,
you know, living in a day and age where everything is a cancel, like everything can be canceled, and living like, we're not here to cancel you. We're not here to cancel each other. Like this is not a cancel. Like we need to get rid of those negative opinions. Like we should stop canceling people because they are feeling, thinking, and doing things different.
Right. If you don't like it, then you just like go somewhere else and do something different. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand where the whole cancel thing went, but I agree with you on that.
Like I think too, like most people don't take the time to understand the other person too. Like they're so quick to judge, and I think that's one of the reasons I love working with children, is because so many children, you know, get stuck, you know, just something simple. Like I see, you know, kids fighting over a toy, like they want to share this toy, and I said, but you know, let's respect that they're playing with this toy right now. Maybe instead of asking them, hey, I want this now, maybe respecting this is their time and being like, hey, how much longer do you need? Or like, when can I have a turn? Right? It's taking that time to say, you know, realize that that's what this person needs and wants. Let me see if I can, you know, do this later, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree. I just think we all just need to realize like it's okay to want to do what you want to do, and just because someone's different doesn't make them like a bad person. I don't know where all that came from, but anyway, I totally agree.
And I think over the last, year, could be 5 years, we really have been through a roller coaster over those emotions. And I think we're ready to unpack that with you. And I think, for me personally, I moved here, like I said, 5 years ago. And I just didn't move here to go to Disney every day, which what a lot of people think because that's what you see on my social media. I moved here to be closer to my grandparents. My grandparents are my entire life. They raised me basically when my father was in the hospital. My mother couldn't handle taking care of me and my father. And I moved here to take care of my grandparents. And I'm so lucky I moved here when I did because I got a good year, 2 years out of that time until unfortunately my grandfather got sick. And then I had to do something that no granddaughter should have to do, but I did not mind doing was I showed up every week, every 2 weeks to take care of my bubby and make sure that she had a ride to the hospital. And
And she lives how far away from where you are
three
here?
hours. I would drive down there and come back. It didn't matter. My grandparents meant that much to me. And I spent a year going down there while my papa was sick until he passed away. And then Bubby got hurt and then she felt better and we had some sleepovers and we got her nails done. And those are some of my favorite memories. And then she got hurt again and she lived in assisting living for a while. And something, everyone tried to make me feel guilty about for a really long time was I stopped going to visit Bubby. And everyone made me feel guilty about this, like so guilty. Like they made me feel like I was a terrible person. But what people didn't realize is that this is what I needed to already grieve Bubby. I needed to separate myself from Bubby because every time I went down there, I could not move forward with my life. And Bubby didn't want that for me. Bubby knew that I can accomplish so much more. And even though I wasn't visiting her, I spoke to her every single day, just like I have done my entire life. And, I remember this is really recent, so this is really like on my heart, but I got a call from her on a Wednesday. It was late at night, and she left me a voice message. And I knew that was the end. I knew listening to that voice message that that was the end. She never answered the phone after that. Thank God I have hundreds of voice messages from her whenever I miss her voice. But, I spent the last couple of years taking care of my grandparents, and that took a huge emotional toll. I also moved here to work with families on vacation, specifically to work for Disney. I went through 3 years of trying to get my dream position to find out at my dream position that even though I loved everything I did, I never felt like I was put in a position where I could truly take care of the guest. And I never felt like I was listened or heard. I went through 2 years of that. It was another emotional toll, like, really felt like it was one of those things where as much as I loved what I was doing, I didn't feel like I was in a right position. I didn't feel like I was in a good position. And it took a lot of work to leave a job that I spent 3 years trying to get. Lots of tears, lots of hard work, lots of interviews, lots of stuff. And, just getting to this point in my life where I'm finally starting to feel happy again. I'm starting to feel good about stuff. And another thing I don't talk a lot about, and I think it needs to be talked about too, is like, you see what, again, social media is just a highlight reel. It's not the behind the scenes. Like, I've been in a committed relationship with my boyfriend for almost 3 years now. People don't see the beginning of our relationship on social media. They don't see the work we put in. We both showed up in that relationship with so much baggage. We were both hurt. I was, besides the baggage of like our past relationships, my grandparents are sick. My grandparents are dying. Like, he had to go through all that with me. And, they don't see how hard we worked on that relationship. They don't see how many times I've cried. They don't see those things. And I think that was part of the last 5 years for me, is really creating a good relationship with my boyfriend. Another thing is, besides like all that, is really like, again, wanting to dedicate myself to my future. And I know I kind of touched on this already, but nobody realizes how hard it is to have a learning disability that is not recognized. Like, I've never felt like I can do certain jobs. I never felt like I can do certain things because I feel that this learning disability is holding me back. I still struggle like writing content. I still struggle with the little things because even though I can speak to you and I can say things, like my learning disability is a writing disability where I will forget when I'm writing. I'll forget the main point of my sentences. I'll forget the ands, the I's. And sometimes I even write stuff backwards. Like I'll put the end in the beginning and the beginning in the end. And it's just, and that's the thing is like, these are things that I don't show. And maybe I need to be more vulnerable. Maybe I need to show more of these things. But all I show in reality is this highlight reel of I enjoy going to the parks. I enjoy, hang out with my friends. I love my family. And, they don't see like, again, I think it's that pattern of it's not always perfect. It's not always good. Like me and my parents have a great relationship now. They don't see the arguments me and my parents went through. They don't see my dad chasing me through the street because I was upset about something and that's how he handled it. Like there's so much more. And I think I'm finally at this point where I feel that I can speak up. I can say what I need to say and be vulnerable and just share it because at the end of the day, yeah, this is part of my story and maybe someone else, is grieving someone before they die and they feel guilty because everyone's making them feel guilty about it, right? Or someone else has a learning disability that they're struggling with and nobody understands. Like we are all in this together, Jacqui?
Agreed. I love you.
I love you too.
You're amazing.
I love you.
She spreads sunshine everywhere. Truly.
I love you. That's actually one of my affirmations I say every day is I am sunshine and I bring sunshine to everyone.
Well, that's why, because you are.
I try, but I think too something that I don't talk about enough either, and again, maybe my platform is not always the best place to talk about this, but like I think I said this earlier about working with children, teaching them the word no, but like as a young teenager, I said no so many times and I was touched the wrong way, hurt the wrong way, and like I've been through so much in my 32 years that you wouldn't even realize. I've lived in so many places, I've seen so many things, I've met so many people, and I think at the end of the day, this is why I don't care what people think about me. I don't care who you think I am. I'm going to quote M here, but I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, why would I say I am? In the news, in the paper, every day I am what you say I am. That has been literally my theme song since middle school. I was bullied in middle school. I was bullied in high school. I was picked on, I was picked on by teachers, adults. It didn't matter. People always thought because I was different, they were able to pick on me. And I've always had a strong suit that, it doesn't matter. And finding a friend like Jacqui where I don't feel that is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
Love you. I think Jacqui has a lot to unpack too about her last year, and I think you'll see that we do have similarities in our stories, but opposites too. And I think that's the beauty is we bring two different versions and stories of our life,
Yeah, I think it's important that we're sharing all of this right now because in the future of our podcast, like we're going to be kind of bringing some of these topics back up, and it's just good to like know them in advance and kind of know our story. I felt like, and so yeah, I'm just going to explain the last year because that in itself has been like the hardest thing that I've probably ever been through, and I've had a lot of things throughout my life and how people have treated me and all that stuff, and sure, yes, like people haven't always been the nicest to me, but last year just like really rocked my world. So I have a younger sister and older brother, and my older brother back in August of 2019 was diagnosed with ALS. It's also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a neurological disease. There's no cure for it. And basically your muscles just start deteriorating. And most people that are diagnosed with it only have 2 to 5 years to live. A lot of people that are diagnosed with it, though, are older. And he was 33 or 34 at the time, 34, I think. And so obviously when we heard that, it was like, what the heck? And so I've been processing that from August 2019 to February of 2023 last year, when he had pneumonia, was sent to the hospital. And so for someone like him, at the point that he went there, he was physically 100, like basically 100% disabled. He cannot walk. He can't move his arms. He can't physically do anything without help. Can't feed himself, all of that stuff. And so when he went to the hospital, it was really scary because for a normal person with pneumonia, I mean, it's still scary to get pneumonia, but like for a normal person, they're going to heal and all that. We didn't know if his body would heal because of his disease. And so he was in the hospital for 3 months. And during that time, he ended up getting, I always say it wrong. So if you're a medical person watching this, I'm sorry. I think it's a tracheostomy. There's two different ones, whatever. He had to get a trach, which he would have eventually needed anyway, because with the disease, eventually, like your muscles, they stop working. So you stop being able to breathe, stop being able to swallow, all those things, later stages. So he needed a permanent one anyway. So he got that. He also ended up getting a peg tube, I think is what it's called, in your stomach, because he just wasn't able to eat enough to sustain his body. And so anyway, he got both of those things, and to a normal person, that's a huge deal. But we just knew, like, I guess I knew in my head, like eventually he would need it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, David needs that. But he was in the hospital for 3 months, and I just didn't know if he would come out of the hospital. I didn't know if he was able to be at home and have home care. It's very expensive. I ended up starting a GoFundMe last year to raise money so that he could be home, because insurance wasn't paying for him to be home. And like I said, like I couldn't even tell. I don't even know. It's so expensive. He was diagnosed 6 months after he got married. His wife Heather, and Heather is an angel. She's
Love
an angel.
Heather.
She's an angel. And so her and my dad were the primary caretakers of David. And so they would switch off because Heather's a teacher. So it happened he came back in May, came back home. So they were kind of ending school. So she was out for the summer. But her and my dad would switch off. My dad would work from home. So they would switch off. But it was just scary. And I think like one of the biggest things is it just made me like, I had this, they call it survivor's guilt, even though he was still alive. Survivor's guilt. So like I felt so much guilt for like being alive.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so much guilt for like living my life. I felt so much guilt that I had kids and they don't have that. Like I felt, and I didn't want to make it all about me, but it's almost like it all just started coming up. And like I started realizing like, wow, like he's not going to get better. He's just going to keep declining. And like, that's my big brother. I mean, he was healthy his whole life. He went to the gym all the time. He ate healthy. He did all the things, like all the right things that a person should do. He did it. He had asthma. Like he didn't have any crazy medical issues. And it's just a random thing that happened and he was diagnosed with. So I think him being in the hospital just brought it all up from the past few years of that, and just being sad that like my brother's declining. Like I don't know how else to say it in like a non-sad way, but it's just really sad to watch the person that you love that's so young like not be there anymore. Like I always thought he'd be there for my kids and stuff. So anyway, that's that. There's more. I have to cry now. Okay, so he came home in May and we were so excited, so happy. I went down there for my birthday, which is at the end of May. I'm a Gemini. And we came back. So my husband, my kids, and I went down to South Florida. I'm from Coral Springs. So we went down there. The day after my birthday, we came back and there was a pizza on my doorstep. And I thought, we were like, is that from my mother-in-law? Like, 'cause she knows that my younger son loves Domino's. So it was a Domino's pizza. We're like, that's weird. And so we went over to the pizza and look at the receipt, and there's a person's name on it, and it's a man's name, and a man's name that we do not know. And so we're like, that's weird. Is it like someone's husband and maybe I just don't realize, and they sent it to me for my birthday? And his name and his number were on there, and it said to Jacqueline and her kids. No Glenn mention, just to Jacqueline and her kids. And we're like, okay, this is a little weird. And so my husband texts the number and asks, like, do we know you? Didn't say who he was or anything like that. And they text back and ask if it's Glenn Lee Wilson, which is his name, which is creepy. And he's like, who is this? And they said, oh, it's a family friend. which is creepy because we don't know you and you're not giving us any information. So we called the police and had them come over and just did like a report because it's really creepy. Installed what are those ring cameras? Installed ring cameras. And then I think it was like a week and a half later or something, a person shows up at my door, and I didn't know, I had no idea what this person had looked like or anything like that. So I opened the door and he tells me who he is. And he says that he's been in a relationship with me online for a year. This is a strange man that I do not know. And so my youngest one's trying to get out the door to see who it is because he's excited. He's a people person like Ashley. So, he's trying to get out the door. I mean, I'm smiling now, but if you see the video of my face, like it's like I went like white like a ghost when I realized who it was and just tried to get him away and close the door as fast as I could. And thinking back, like, thank goodness nothing happened. But like I opened the door with my kids right there, this strange man that like, I don't know what his intentions are. It was so scary. So the next day, I went to file for a restraining order, and I got an email the day after from him. I started receiving these emails, and he knew that I had a restraining order. So I knew somehow they either hacked my phone, hacked my email. Like I didn't know how so it was just like this paranoia that was going on in my head. Like, can I text people information about this? Because what if they're watching? What if he always knows where I live. But like, what if he's tracking me? I didn't go anywhere with my children that entire summer of last year because I was afraid to go anywhere by myself or with the kids without Glenn, my husband, there. It was so scary. And then I just continued to receive these really creepy emails talking about like our future children's names and that he was supposed to meet me and I didn't show up, and knowing things and calling me by my maiden name instead of my actual last name. I've been married for almost 11 years. Like, just all this creepiness. And every single time I would send this to this one deputy that was so sweet, I was working with. And even he agreed. He's like, no, this is really creepy. And so I just was summer of being scared after this 3 months of being really sad. My brother's in the hospital. I'm finally realizing like his life is declining. And then I'm going right into someone could be hacking my phone, my who knows what, following me. I don't know. And it was so scary. And so I think it took 3 court dates in order to get the restraining order in place. That was the end of August. So from the end of May, beginning of June to the end of August, I'm like hiding away with my children in my house and scared out of my mind. So finally we had that in place, and he still reached out via third parties. He made up fake names. I just got a notification that 5 days ago, one of his fake names, like a new profile on Facebook, like commented on my picture. Like, it's not smart. It's totally violating restraining orders. But anyway, so I'm still dealing with this, but we'll move on to the next thing. So I feel like this is the smallest out of the 4 things that happened last year, but it was still so sad. I had a sweet doggie, and she was 15 years old, my sweet Marley, and she was so scared of everyone. And she was at her end of life. And so we had to make the decision to like put her down. But my gosh, like, even though we knew that she was declining and it was really hard for her to walk, just all this stuff, making a decision like that, I was a wreck for like 2 weeks. Like, I was like, is this the right decision? Are we doing the right thing? And then it was terrible. So went right from those things into that. And then I was like, okay, it's okay. Marley's at peace, blah, blah, blah. So Labor Day weekend, actually I guess that was after Labor Day weekend, but my dad was not feeling well. Whole summer was swimming like laps, like 30 laps each day in the pool. Like, he was so healthy. He would always walk. He was a very healthy guy. And so he went to the hospital on Labor Day because he hadn't been feeling well. And they did biopsies, and they're like, oh no, we didn't find anything. Then the Marley thing happened, and then he really wasn't feeling well. So we were like, you have to go to the hospital. Like, I would call my mom and I would hear him laying there, like moaning in pain. Like, it was terrible. I've never heard anyone in that much pain. So my sister forced him to go to the hospital, and they did another biopsy, and or did they? I don't even know. It's all a blur. But I was at Gavin's book fair. Like, they do the book fairs, which I love the book fair. I'm trying to find a happy moment in this story. Like, I love the book fair. You buy like the little erasers and the little pens, and anyway, little notebooks. So I'm at my son's book fair volunteering, and my sister called me, and I was like, okay, let me pick it up because my dad's in the hospital. I just wanted to see what's the update is. And she's like, they're telling him he has cancer. And we're like, okay. And so I didn't know like what the next steps were. I figured treatment, chemo, like what a normal person would do with cancer. And they said that his tumors were like taking up, I think, his left lung. It's all a blur. So I won't give too much detail because I feel like I don't know, but he had multiple, and they were so big that they couldn't get, or maybe so thick, I don't know, they couldn't get the chemo to where it needed to go in order to help. And so he needed to go in for some sort of surgery on his lungs to try to create a hole so they could get the chemo where they needed to go. And so he was doing that. And I hadn't talked to him. I mean, I hadn't talked to him since Labor Day. This is now the end of September. So this is almost a month later, when we're finding out that he has cancer. And he went, I think, in for surgery. Yeah, sometime around then. It's hard to know. It was all sad. And so I went down to South Florida to be with my mom for the weekend and visit him. But by the time I got there, he was out of surgery, so he wasn't really coherent. Like he might have been, but like he was like drugged, and he had the intubation, like the tube in your mouth so he could breathe and stuff because he'd just been in surgery. So I knew that he could hear me, and I played him our song. Our song is Enya Only Time. There was a time where we were driving to my grandparents and we played it like 10 times in a row in the car. And so this was when I was little. And so ever since then, that's our song. So I played him our song and we were trying to talk to him. I think he could understand, but he was just came out of surgery in the ICU. So that was the last time that I saw him, because we came back and we were like, okay, they're going to transfer him to a different hospital. They'll be able to do the chemo and do all the things and he'll get better. And he got to the hospital and his heart just started giving out. And yeah, we had to say goodbye to him. So it was like a 3-week period of when we found out he had cancer and then he was gone. And it was just a whirlwind. And I was like, this is like, I can't handle any more. I can't handle any more things. That was like February to mid-October. All of that happened. And so I don't know when we started talking about doing the podcast.
I would say beginning of the year, almost December even.
Think so?
Like end of the year, beginning of the year.
Yeah, I was just in such a dark place. I felt like I had no idea who I was, where I was going, what I was doing. I could barely take care of myself. Like I didn't know when I would wake up if I would just be crying all day or if I would only have some moments of crying, but there was more days of crying than not for months. And I truly was like, when will this end? Like if you've never been through like grief, like I just have never experienced grief with someone that close before. And it was just like, when will this ever end? I don't know. Like I thought it would just be that way for the rest of my life. I'm like, how am I gonna be able to do a podcast with you, Ashley, when I can barely like, I couldn't, and I did social media for 10 years. So like writing posts and doing all that stuff, that was normal. Although I completely stopped last summer when I thought that someone was invading my privacy. So I really slowed down all my social media stuff last year and I've been picking it back up, but I just couldn't even like think about what to post. I couldn't, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things, like who cares? But also that was my income. So like, I just wasn't even working for months, because I just, everything going on, invasion of privacy. And then I just didn't even know who I was and what I was doing. And I feel like us starting to talk through this, because we've been talking about it now for a long time, has really helped me like get back into being creative and trying new things and like finding myself again, along with my arts and crafts. And I'm very impressed that I got through that without crying. It's been so much healing, but this year I told myself my words are growth and stronger, and I really wanted it to be about a year, like a year where I just focused on myself and forced myself, which I feel like is a whole other podcast. But the mom guilt, if you're a mom, doing stuff for yourself is really hard. So it's been a really like so much work this year on taking time for myself. And yeah, it's been like the most healing year I've ever had in my life.
I think like you've been through so much, and the fact that you're willing to speak about it after it literally just happened shows your strength in so many ways. And I think that's something I've always admired about you, is you always find a way to show up for yourself and for who you love, and it continues to show no matter what.
I love you.
I love you.
Also, if any of these topics are something that you guys want to hear more about, like more in depth, like we're more than happy to kind of talk through or give more details to the
Mhm.
story. But like there's so many details that would take like hours for us to even like tell all of them.
Oh yeah.
But if there's like grief, is something that's
I
going
think
on
we
in your
will.
life or whatever, like you can let us know and we can
Yeah.
go more in depth on
I
that.
think we will eventually have
We
a grief
will, but
episode because I think we both really been grieving the last year, and I think obviously grief is going to look different on everyone. That's
yes.
something I've learned in my grieving journey, and for me, this grieving journey is not just like my grandparents. Like I've been grieving for years now, different people. Like I lost my best friends 5, 6 years ago. I remember I spent 3 years just grieving them, feeling alone. Literally, I felt like I was in a hole and I would scream for help. And I didn't know how to say, I need help. I would just say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Can we hang out? Hang out? Hang out? What are you doing? What are you doing? Hang out? And people stopped talking to me because they don't want to hang out with me that much. They don't want to be with me that much. In reality, that was my way of saying, I need help
Yeah.
because I am a hermit. And when I'm constantly asking to hang out or to talk, that's my way of saying, I need help. And, I realize in those moments that grief is going to look different, and grief will come at different points. Like, I remember one time, this was the beginning of that grieving journey, like, I had something that sparked like, triggered me, and I had to run into the bathroom and cry. Like, that is completely normal, and that's okay. And then obviously going through Bubby's death, like that was a different grieving journey. Like I had this epiphany in the middle of the night that I've been grieving Bubby for the past year and I'm preparing for her death. I was pre-grieving almost. And then for you,
I feel
like,
like that's me. I mean, I hate to say that out loud. Like it still doesn't. I don't know. It still doesn't feel real, but I feel like that with my brother. I don't know why that feels so weird to say out loud because it's like I kind of am in denial about it. I think, but
I mean, it's also, you
because
don't,
he could live a many, many, many more years, and I hope that he does.
yeah,
He
amen.
could. He could for sure.
Amen. He should.
Yes.
But it makes sense. Like, he's not who he was in a sense. Even though he's still your brother, he's not
Oh
the.
yes. Personality and humor is still there, which I fully appreciate. I love him so much, and he's just the same sweet. He's the has the biggest heart, and he's very much a people person like you, like very outgoing people person. And so, like, I think that's what kills me that he's not able to do all the things.
I think like you miss going to Disney with him. You miss those little
Yeah,
things with
he did
him.
half marathons at Disney.
So I think that's hard too. Is like you get used to someone playing a role in your life, and whatever that role is, and that role changes, and they're not there anymore. And it's not that you want to replace them; it's you need to find a way to move on.
You definitely can't replace David, that's for sure.
You can't replace anyone. You can't replace anyone because everyone's unique and special in who they are for a reason, and there's a reason why you're friends with them. There's a reason they're in your life. There's a reason. I again, I'm a firm believer that everyone's in your life for a reason, and if they're not in your life anymore, they still taught you a lesson.
Yes.
I think that's what's going to be, beautiful about this podcast is we're going to open up and share these lessons, and share these stories, these little like things that built us to who we are. And even though we've had these like crazy year or crazy couple years or whatever it is, that doesn't stop us from being us. It doesn't stop us from showing up. And maybe we have a day or two where we are hermit and we can't show up, and that's okay. Literally, that is okay. It is okay to be not okay.
It's okay to take time for yourself when you need it and say no to everyone else to say yes to yourself. Like, as much as we love doing things for others and we love the community and building other people up, you have to have some time for yourself, because unless you feel like you're at your highest self, it's hard to help others be there too.
Yeah. And I think too, like, we live in a society where you're kind of like told what to do. Like, you have to do this by the time you're this age, and you have to go to college, and you have to do all these things. And in reality, you don't. It's okay to break the mold. It's okay to create your own path. And I think we all need to burst this bubble of, well, I'm this age, I have to do this, or I'm here at this point in my life, I have to be here. Like, I think it's continuing to burst that bubble of what we need to be and what we should be, instead finding our own path.
Agreed.
And I think I think we got a lot more to talk about ourselves, but that will come with every episode. And like we said, every episode's going to have a different topic that's going to open different parts. And don't feel that you're not able to contribute. Like if you want us to, like Jacqui said, to explore more about a topic, or there is a certain topic that you want to hear about, we are open. And if you feel that you want to be part of this podcast, we're eventually going to interview others. So we're definitely open up to, this is for everyone. This podcast is not just Jacqui and Ashley hosting it. This is a podcast for women by women.
Yeah. And you can also find us on our social media pages. We are on TikTok and Instagram right now, Hermit Haven Podcast. So you can follow us there. You can ask us questions there too.
And I think too, like I said this, I'm going to say this like every episode, but our social medias are not just going to be a place where we remind you to listen to the next episode. Our social medias are going to be the backside of these podcasts. These are going to be little clippets of our life. So besides following our direct social medias, following Hermit Haven is going to show the building of this podcast. And I think, you know, this episode might be a little choppy, or it might be a little bit like, you know, we didn't have the right facial expressions or whatever it is. It doesn't matter.
It was perfection.
It doesn't matter, because this is step 1 to step 1,000.
Yeah. I think that's important for you guys to be able to see us like grow, and like we don't really know what we're doing, but we're figuring it out. And that's important because you guys, if you have a passion or a dream that you want to make come true, like anyone can do anything they want to. It's just taking the steps, doing the research, taking the steps, and just learning as you go.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think we can say goodbye. I think we unpacked a lot. I think you guys have a lot to take in from what we unpacked, and I think we both need a hug. And we love you all very much. And yeah.
Love you.
See you next episode. We're not sure where we're going to be at our next episode, but we will be here with you.
Thanks for spending time with us today and being part of our Hermit Haven community.
We hope you enjoyed our cozy chat and are inspired to embrace your inner hermit.
Remember, even in the quiet moments, you're never alone on this journey, because we are truly all in this together.
So until next time, stay cozy, stay true to yourself, and keep spreading love wherever you go.
Bye for now.
We'll see you next time.